Hello, my name is Arslan Ashraf, and the title of my paper is A Summarization of the Visual Depression Databases for Depression Detection. This paper is not more inclined towards technicality, but yeah, it will help the researchers who are planning to conduct their research in depression detection but are somewhat confused about which database to use. So these are the contents that I'll be discussing in my presentation. First, the introduction. The second will be non-verbal signs of depression, then the allocation methods for visual data, and then the depression databases, and finally the conclusion. So let me start with the introduction. Depression is the most widely recognized sort of psychological disorder, which is affecting a number of people all over the world. And with time, it's affecting more and more population. So the depressed people, they are facing a number of issues like sadness, loneliness, and anxiety, and also much more. So it's hard for the individuals experiencing depression to focus on their work, to maintain their physical as well as their mental health. So there is an important need to have a depression recognition model, which will detect the depression at the early stage so that we might have a proper treatment for that person. In order to make a depression detection model, we need the relevant data. So why can we get this relevant data from? We have a number of depression detection databases available, which we can use in order to make our model. So this paper will guide the researchers to select an appropriate dataset for their depression detection models. So here you can see the diagram of the multimodal depression databases. The input for our model might be a voice, a video, or a text. For example, here we have a voice, we have a video or image, or we have a text. We feed it to the deep learning algorithm for voice, for video or text, and then it's forwarded to the multimodal deep learning classifier, which gives us the output whether the person is depressed or not depressed, or also the level of depression. Since my main focus is towards the non-verbal signs, so I'll be discussing about the non-verbal signs of depression. If we are considering the visual highlights for the depression, first we have to capture the emotions. And in order to do that physically and the facially, we have the face. From the face, we have different highlights, for example, eyes, eyebrows, mouth, from where we can interpret the emotion of an individual. Since the face is the mirror to your emotions, we can get the highlights of an emotion from your face. All those highlights might be used in order to get the features and to get the expressions for our data sets. I have listed some of the non-verbal features which can be used. Those are the pupil dilation, we have iris movement, we have eyelid activity, we have eye gaze, we have mouth corners and angle down, we have different facial activities. And here you can see that we have head pose and others, which might be took into consideration when we are talking about the non-verbal signs. So, what are the data gathering methods for visual data? For the visual data, if you find any of the databases, that might fall in these three categories. First one is the presented. In the presented one, we have just a subject who is posing his emotions in front of a camera. For example, I am a subject, I am posing my emotions in front of a camera, and the camera is recording that emotions. Number two, we have acted. In the acted one, it's same like the presented one, but in here it conveys the more genuine feeling because there are two subjects. For example, I am interacting with some other person, and our feelings will be more genuine as compared to the presented one because there I'm just interacting with in front of a camera, but here I'm interacting with a real person, so that my feelings will be more genuine as compared to that. And the most important one is the spontaneous one. It is the nearest to the real life situations in which we take the recordings from the YouTube, say for example from the TV serials or from the clinical practitioners. For example, I am visiting a doctor and I am having a conversation with him about my condition, and doctor is recording all those conversation, and that can be used for the information for building a depression detection data set. So these are the three data gathering methods. Those are the presented, active, and spontaneous. So let's go forward for the depression databases. We have to keep this thing in mind when we are working with the data sets. We can either get the data from the videos, or as I discussed earlier, we can get it from the TV shows, we can get it from the clinics. But right now, since we are living in the information age and we have a vast amount of information available for us on the internet. For example, let me get an example from the Twitter. We are posting different tweets on the Twitter, or we are posting on our Facebook wall. We can get the information of the depression from that also, because what you are posting reflects your emotions. For example, there were many research studies conducted on this. The posts from the Twitter and the Facebook were collected. For example, they were annotated. For example, if we are posting like I was just diagnosed with the depression or I feel hopeless, these type of posts were gathered and they were took as the information for building a text databases. So right now the space for online posts are extremely high because we can easily get that, and this information is the power to create our text databases for depression. Because right now all the people of the world, they are more inclined towards their Facebooks, their social media accounts, and they post their daily life there. So we can get an idea of one's emotion from his status of the posts. So, in my paper, I have represented 10 data sets. I have provided a detailing about them. So, how we can use that, what is inside the database, so who created it, and what are the subjects in that, whether it's video based, whether it's image based, or whether it's text based. If you want to go in the detail, you can please go to my paper and see there. For now, I will just go. I have a screenshot of the 10 data sets that I have also put in my paper. You can go through that. This is the depression databases that are available, which can be used for training the model. So let me go for the conclusion. For the conclusion, I must say that the depression is the most predominant mental issue present in our society at present, and there is a need to identify that for appropriate treatment. This paper was ought to be a decent beginning stage for any individual who thinks about preparing a model for depression detection but is confused over which database to go for. This paper summarized the depression datasets utilized for depression detection. This paper also contemplated the way there are constraints in the nonverbal and verbal activities between a depressed and a non-depressed individual. The data collection techniques for building a database have been discussed here. And to end up all, it is better to state that the possibilities of advancements in depression database are highly promising, and so is the scope for research in this field of depression detection. Since the time we are going through might be very hectic for various people, be it in studies, be it in work, be it in another, there are many stresses the people are facing. So the depression levels are going higher and higher. So if we are not acting now, so the time will be near that I guess the majority of the population will be suffering from depression, I guess, which is the condition right now. Students are taking stress due to studies, parents have other stresses, many people are facing their own conditions, but somehow they are inclining towards the depression. They are going towards the depression. Deep inside, they are not aware that this is the sign of depression. So there is an important need for a model who might detect the depression at the early stage. For that, the doctors or other the clinicians, the psychiatrists, they can act upon that and help the patient and stop this cause at the beginning. With that, I come to the end of my presentation. I thank all of you. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.